for a document that I was going to tell you, but I don't see it. Comedy news, AMNY. Oh,
Let's all fix our hair and our
let's fix our
makeup.
hair. Yeah, but I'm looking for something I was going to, I think it's here. I was going to tell you about names of people at a uh, event that we went to.
Wow.
Let's see if it shows up in my. Where are you? Oh yes.
You want me to click share screen?
No, 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 no.
All right, right.
Okay, I can't find it so easily. I'll keep looking.
All righty.
I'm
Well,
gonna
I'll just
delete.
talk to everybody while you're doing that. I'll
You can talk
introduce.
to me. You
We're
can talk
we're
to me.
live on Facebook, Helen, so I'm going to say hello to everybody.
Oh, you're so good. Yes, you're such a wonderful person.
Good morning, Facebook people, and those of you who come on habitually and watch this late after the fact. Do whatever you like. It's 2021. It's almost 2022. Who cares what we do? We made it through a pandemic. Woo! Am I right? Yeah, comic spot interviews were invented by me because I was sad and depressed, and I thought maybe I should check in with comedians and entertainers and see how they're doing. And then I got hooked on it. You know, it's like phonics. And I started interviewing, I haven't stopped. And today we have the most extreme pleasure ever. OMG, look at this doll over here. She's upstaging me. I'm going to have to tell my friend Corey Brunish about her because he's all about Broadway. He's a Broadway producer.
Oh, oh, please tell him. Please, please tell him, please.
I'm going to tag him in this in just 1 second. As soon as I say the intro for this amazing lady, meet the artist. I should put on my glasses. Hold up, everybody. Hold up. Don't rush a genius. Meet the artist. As an entertainer, Helen Yalof is witty, charming. Show them what I'm talking about as I say it. She's witty, she's charming, and innovative. She's also a singer-songwriter. She's a playwright, filmmaker, producer, director. End scene. Helen founded several successful regional and alumni theaters. Two of the regional theaters were Helen Yalof Theater Workshop in San Diego and Studio 60 in New Haven. That's Connecticut. In addition, Helen founded alumni theaters for both Brooklyn College and Yale. I don't even have a Yale key. Studio 60 was a cabaret theater. How do you act out cabaret?
Da 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 da. Ba da da dee da da. Take me the cabaret. Take me the cabaret.
Oh my gosh.
Liza Minnelli, watch out.
Studio 60 influenced the 60s off-Broadway movement and was a forerunner to the Yale Drama School student cabaret. Yale Drama School recently added Helen's Studio 60 to Yale University's Sterling Library Archives. OMG. Helen's shows and films were performed off-Broadway. In educational theater, hospitals, senior centers, which she knows nothing about, hotels, organizations, concerts, cabaret theaters, and festivals.
Ta-da! Ta-da! Ta-da!
A graduate of Yale Drama School, Brooklyn College, and New York University, Helen has been awarded many commissions, scholarships, and prestigious grants. These include Huntington Library, Long Island, Yale Drama School, the National Endowment of the Arts, and the New York State Council on the Arts. OMG. She is a professor emerita and former theater chair at City University of New York. And I can barely pronounce most of those words on a good day.
Oh,
Oh,
whoa.
oh, woe is me. Where's my violin?
Da, 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 da. Yes,
Helen, you're a
yes.
star. You're a star. You've been a star. You are a star. You are amazing. Do people in New York crowd around you to get autographs when you go to Trader Joe's? What, they don't? Do they know who they're looking at? Well, you could, like, it's kind of nice not to be noticed because you can shoplift easier. Oh my gosh. How did you ever? I've seen your pictures and you're still rocking the looks. How do you do that? Who do you thank for all your looks? Maybelline or your mother?
My mother.
Let's
My
talk
mother.
about, can we go back and talk about early Helen growing up? Where did you grow up?
Brooklyn. In
What,
Brooklyn. I was
what
born in Crown Heights, and then we moved to Midwood briefly, and then most of the time in Flatbush near Prospect Park.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. And what were you like growing up? Were you the consummate act out person?
No way. I was until we moved from Crown Heights to other places, and then I became the bullied person, the person that
Oh,
was bullied, the person that was made fun of, the person that no one wanted to touch my hands. And that went on until high school and even during high school.
oh my gosh.
So
And
Brooklyn,
that,
but I did one or two good things in high school. I won a sculpture award and things like that. And then I got some friends, but it really was bad until I got to Brooklyn College. Then
oh,
I was a happy person.
oh my gosh. So I'm telling Corey Brunish about you right now. So that's why
Okay.
I'm looking over here. I'm
You're
saying,
incredible, Linda.
you got to see her, Corey. Corey
You're
comes,
incredible, Linda. Go on.
oh, you're incredible. I've been watching you. You're so funny. Were you funny growing up in Brooklyn?
No, but members of my family were funny, and members of my aunt and uncle were in vaudeville.
No
And
way.
yeah,
What they do? Who were they? Or is it people we know?
no, they never made it to the top, but they told me stories about uh, Gracie and what's the other guy?
George.
George. They told me stories about George and Gracie, which I don't know if they're true or not because nobody else ever mentioned it. And and Bertha, my aunt Bertha, left me all the music that they did from vaudeville, which was fascinating because they didn't have any things like we have today, where you could tell how fast it should go or how slow it should go. It just had a few notes, and the words were incredible. They're all the words that you're not permitted to use today
Wow.
because because they used the awful words for Jews, the awful words for Italian, the awful words for blacks, and they played it to the audiences and nobody objected. It was accepted in those times as just a way of describing them.
Yes.
And I looked at it and I said, I can't do this.
No, boy. You don't
But
want,
that was common.
This cancel culture has me scared. I threw out all my yogurt and cheese
Why?
because it's culture.
Oh,
Gotcha. Bing, 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 bing. I gotcha.
very good. You got me. You get me very easily.
I might need to reword the joke if I had to explain it.
Well, because it's culture. That's the explanation, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I did the right thing. I said why. Oh, I was patsy there. I
Most
was a
people
second.
just don't laugh. Like, I'm so glad you asked why.
I'm a second banana as well as a first.
Being a banana is appealing, even if it's second.
Yes,
We could go on and on.
into
Helen,
infinity. Yes.
you grew up at
Yeah.
some point. I have a funny feeling you grew up.
Maybe you're right. Could be you're right.
And you became something. Did people in Brooklyn just like the people you grew up with? How are they just amazed at all you've accomplished?
They don't know me. Most of the people, well, I had one friend in high school and I stayed friends with her, but who was heading in a bohemian direction. But the people I grew up with, I don't know. One of the people, oh, who gave me a very hard time, very, very hard time. I then saw her in the papers afterwards as the gun moll of one of the uh, Columbia family guys, and she was looking in front of the judge. And her name was Anne, and her hair was blonde then, and it was dark when we were in kids. And her mother ran a bakery, and her mother won the sewing prize for her in public school, and none of us could say that. But anyway, she ended up being the top moll or girlfriend of the top guy of one of the Columbia Gallo, Joe Gallo, I believe, or maybe Columbia. Anyway, she was in the newspapers because she was riding in this limousine and there was gunshots in there, and she was very worried in front of the judge. And the judge said, "This woman should be very worried. She's on the kill list."
Wow.
I thought,
My gosh.
"Oh, oh, that was the one that used to sing to me, yada yada yada. You don't want to leave the banana. You don't, no, no. You don't want to leave the Congo." I said, "Okay, Anne, you mean girl, you." I wonder if she's still alive. She might be.
Might be. So
Maybe.
who have you bumped up against who's famous that has knocked your socks off?
Well, one of my students, Michael Flutie, from when I taught, and we're very fond of him, and I still am friendly with him. Anyway, Michael Flutie became a big agent and a producer, and a theater person, and he's always doing projects and whatever. So he had his own show about being an agent for models, which he then shifted to theater, which is where he really wanted to go. So I think but you wouldn't know necessarily his name unless you were in the producing or agent field.
And so
Uh,
he's really impressed you with what he's done with his
I'm
life.
astonished. Well, I'm astonished that he has, well, we knew he had to go to it, that he had that incredible go to it and that ability to work his way up and deal with sharks and be a semi shark himself. So I can't do that. I'm impressed with that.
Wow. What has been your forte that has catapulted you all these, I don't want to say decades, because that's assuming all these years?
I keep, listen, when I started out, I could not walk across the stage. I couldn't talk loudly across the stage. My singing, people told me to stop singing. And I just worked on it. I took singing lessons with this wonderful person, Ernie Costaldo, who was studying with somebody who was called the voice teacher of the voice doctor of the Metropolitan Opera. And I developed my voice several octaves. But that happened late in life. So I had different periods in my life. I wanted to be an artist at first, and then at Brooklyn College, they didn't like my kind of art. They liked abstract art. And so I shifted over to theater where I was getting good marks. And then I thought this was going to be the last time I would ever do theater. But I would throw myself into it. And as I said, I did not have the automatic abilities that a lot of people had. I had to learn it. And then one of the teachers went to me and said, "You belong at Yale." I said, "Really?" And my whole family was very happy but upset because it cost money. And I got a half tuition scholarship, and I became assistant to John Gassner. And I didn't have an easy time at Yale either, but it was an interesting. That's where I ran the theater, so that was good. But
Wow,
they didn't like John
John Gass.
Gassner.
Now, I grew up with some Gassners, and one of them has he does the lighting on movies, and he's won 2 Oscars for lighting and sound and set design. Any relation to Ken Gassner and Dennis?
I don't know. I don't know if John Gassner had children or not.
Yeah, because I grew up with
His
them in
wife was
Portland,
Molly.
Oregon.
Well, he was from New York, but
Yeah.
who knows, relatives.
Yeah,
He never mentioned children. He
that
was
might
very
be how Dennis got famous with.
absolutely, absolutely. It's not who you know, it's who you.
We're not going to say it, but we all know what it ends with.
Okay, no.
We can say anything on here. You have total freedom of speech to be who you are.
Oh, okay. I
So,
was trying. I was trying to hide myself, trying to be something else.
Helen, do you think the world's a stage? Do you think that you love to? I see you totally being yourself and totally being on stage at all times.
No, I
Not
was.
true.
Oh no, no. I was a professor. I had to tone myself down a lot in life and learn how to deal with everyday people. And I can be unnoticed very easily.
Really? How do you be
Yeah,
on the, how do you make yourself not noticeable?
I'm very quiet and I listen a lot.
Okay.
Uh, so there's several aspects to a person. You're not on all the time. And as a teacher, I could not have been on all the time. That would have been I would have been fired one, two, three. I really was a. I didn't think of myself as a theatrical personality. I became when I started to do singing and cabaret. Then I became more of that because when you act in a show, you are the character you are in the show, and that doesn't mean you're that character off stage.
True. I
So, but
see. Normally I don't want anybody to be in character, but I want to see you act out every single thing, like you were acting out your introduction.
well, I'm certainly willing to do it, but
You
that
said,
doesn't mean, that doesn't mean I'm not a thinking, quiet person most of the time. But I
how
do
do
love being on stage. Yeah.
So if you and the good Lord had a discussion and you could go back in life and either be a teacher, professor, or on stage, can't have both like you've had. You got to give up one when you go back in this DeLorean. Which are you picking?
Well, first of all, being a teacher was a matter of survival, and then I did my best to do a good job in that. I wanted, my dream was to be an actress in a traveling company like they used to do. We could play all kinds of parts. And then my second dream after I started singing was to be a superstar. And I developed a character called Yucca Pitt's Not Known Superstar, who had who just thought, unlike me, who questioned a lot of my moves, Yucca knew that she was wonderful all the time and that no matter what people were saying to her, they were applauding her in her mind. And she performed throughout the world in luncheonette counters, in fountains, and she once went into a Greek on a tour. She went into one of these little Greek theater things and got on stage and sang. And unlike me, she was absolutely sure that she was perfect and everybody adored her.
Wow. It sounds just like what Beyonce does with her character of Sasha Fierce.
Uh huh.
Because when she goes on stage, she leaves Beyonce, the mother, the wife, and she
Yeah,
becomes this persona that's bigger than life. Sounds like you were the original Sasha Fierce.
could be. But I had alternate characters. Basically, I invented yucca to help me get over my stage fright in singing. Because when you have anxiety in singing, your voice doesn't come out; it gets tighter. So I developed a character who didn't have those reactions, who just felt she was wonderful, you know.
Oh my
And
God.
in my first show out, I had her do a monologue where she locked Helen in a closet because Helen was a unpleasant person to deal with, and she was taking over. The
I know a
audience,
lot. I know a lot of people in the business that should do that.
it helped. So then I developed other characters like her mother, who is the archetype of Rose and Gypsy, who would
Wow.
complain about yucca and so forth.
What was your childhood like to make you so able to have love flowing from you still?
Well, we were not a family that showed love very much. As I said, I was pretty quiet. And I asked my mother once why she never said anything nice to me, whereas other mothers did, and she said, well, I didn't want you to get a swelled head. So neither my father nor my mother, they sort of, they looked at my brother and I and said, where did they come from? How did we get these kids? They're nothing like anyone we know.
Now, were you younger or older than your brother?
Younger,
By how many years?
4.5 years.
And
And he,
how was that growing up with a brother? That's 4.5 is a good number of years apart.
well, he was in a way my father, my teacher, which he didn't like at all. But he was a very mischievous, like a Huckleberry Finn type of guy who would travel. We all traveled by ourselves at a very early age because our parents were working and so forth. So we were out on our own almost all the time. So Stan would travel upstate and go into woods, and he became a natural, early conservationist, and he's now a scientist and a writer. And we're trying to write the story of our childhood together because it doesn't exist anymore, that kind of
Wow.
life.
Wow.
But Stan was the leader, and I was take me, and he'd say, "No, go away, we don't need little sister." You know, he was
That's exactly what my sister and I were like. And I was the younger.
ah so
Yes.
but he had the ability to go above and beyond society, which of course society didn't like. But basically, he was a charm. Most of my family are charmers. My cousins were charmer. My uncles were charmer. My father out of the house was a charmer. My mother out of the house was a charmer. I wasn't. I developed it as I went along by saying, "Hey, they do it. Why can't I?"
So, what was that like? A lot of people today probably don't even know what a charmer is. So, can you break that
Really?
down? I think so. I think that they're so busy looking at their cell phones and not
Oh,
interacting.
with real people. Well, a charmer is somebody that makes other people feel good and that somebody likes them, and it's fun to be around them. Uh, it was fun to be around my brother usually, and it's fun to be around them. And sometimes they have a sense of humor, but not. But of course, a lot of charmers also sell you bad things. They can be con men. Con men are charmers. So just the fact that you're charming doesn't mean you're a good person.
That's right. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
but
What
in other words, if you're around a charmer, you feel better in your life. You feel you're liked. You feel it's fun to be with them. It's not dull anymore. Um, Yeah,
Yes. My dad was a big charmer everywhere. He
yeah.
was like the mayor of our city, and everybody loved him. And then he
Did
had
you?
this alternate personality at home. I'm like, where's the charmer?
That's right. My father at home was very depressed, but then my mother left him, and that made him even more depressed. But then he met somebody new, and that made him a little happier. But still, he was one person at home and another person out in the world.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing alternate personalities. I would go someplace and they would say, "Oh, your father advised me on stocks." I said, "What? Oh, I'm going into this big enterprise with your father." Okay. No, they didn't know I was his father. They thought he was my uncle because he didn't want anyone to know I was his child when I was because that made him look older. So I had to say my uncle Henry.
Uh,
Uh, Years later, I asked him, "Why did you do that? Why could I never be your daughter around?" I was his daughter with the one or two people that knew him from way back when. But and he said, and he got very angry at me. And then he came back and he said, if they knew that I had grown children, then I would appear older, and I wouldn't appear that I had as much money as I had because I would be older. So this way I would be younger. And I thought, thanks, Dad.
uh, my mother, when I had my daughter, I had one child, and when my mother came around, she would not let my daughter call her grandmother for the same reason.
Ah, so you understand.
Yes, I get you. Like totally get you.
But she didn't say that that's my aunt,
No, she didn't give it a title. She just don't say
or
grandmother.
he would have me be his secretary. When I answered the phone, who's this? Mr. Yalof wants to do blankety blank. He
Got
was
it.
a he was a brilliant guy, and again, the world at that time was very hard on people. Uh,
Yes.
you know, it was, the people after the '60s had an easier time of it, and so he wanted to appear good to the outside world, and he was charming in the outside world,
Absolutely.
and he was witty. So I guess what happened later when I was at Yale, I was being bullied again, um, and a friend came up and said, "Helen, you have to protect yourself." And I said, "Well, how?" And she taught me how to do one-liners where you sort of put the person down. I forgot there's a name for it. It's like a short insult.
Yes. A jab.
Spare a jab, yeah. And I did it on one person who was putting me down, who we had to do a scene together, and he changed totally. And he began to be nice to me. And I thought, oh my God. So part of it is that if you're not feeling uh, capable or you're feeling down and you show it, people step on you.
Yes.
And if you are put it off with a wit, even though it was an attack on him, uh, which what comedians do. And I thought, that's interesting. All of a sudden, I'm okay. And then when I graduated Yale, somebody I had always been friendly with came to me and said, Helen, I've been watching you over the years, and you have gotten so much better and so much nicer. And I'm thinking, hey, I was never not nice to you because he was never mean to me. And I said, what I've done is I've gotten less nice. So I thought it's very funny. What you think is going on in the world is not, because I had gotten nastier. Oh, my friend called it nasties. There's another word for it in comedy. It's a parrying kind of thing. A zinger. And actually, I realized I was very good at that, astonishingly good once I learned how to do it. And then I looked at my relatives, my cousins, and they were doing it all the time. And I thought, oh, it seems to be a family thing.
It comes in your genes. That's what I'll say.
Genetic makeup, yeah.
Yes. Well, who are some people early in life who helped mold you into who you are? Because you're a beautiful flower that's
Woo!
blooming. Yeah, you are.
I don't know. There was occasional teachers that were nice to me, but most of the time people were not nice to me. So I was doing it on my own.
Got it. What
Uh,
when people bullied you,
my
like
bro- my brother my brother was sort of the nicest to me. Yeah.
now people today think that bullying is something someone says to you on Facebook. But you
Oh,
got it back in the day face to face, continually
right.
for a lot of years, it sounds like. So why
Yeah.
don't you speak to bullying so people can feel thankful they're getting bullied on Facebook?
Well, I'm not on Facebook. I don't quite understand how to do it, and I have a limited amount of time, and that takes time. I do have a page, but I don't quite know how to handle it. And I don't know that my experience in bullying helps because I mean listened to a lot of comedians. A lot of them were bullied. A lot of them like were the only black or the only Jew or they were shorter than the others, and they found that doing comedy in the classroom saved them. And I wish I knew that. I just stayed in the corner and was quiet and didn't smile and waited for Prince Charming to come along, who would know me because I didn't smile as the princess who didn't smile. And of course, he did not come, that bastard. So I don't know what to tell people because I don't know how. I mean, now they're talking about it. In those days, if you were bullied, they kind of thought you asked for it. If you were raped, they kind of thought you asked. They thought you asked for it.
Yes, what were
That's
you wearing?
Yeah, what were you wearing? What odor were you giving out? How short was your skirt?
Yes,
You know. So they blamed if bad things happened to you, you were blamed, even though they didn't believe in that. But that's the way it happened.
that was the reality we grew
That
up in.
was the reality, right?
It is. So
And
go ahead, Helen. Don't let me
I was I,
interrupt you.
I was just going to say I was watching this thing about this gypsy girl. Uh, anyway, they showed her on TV as being 14 years old and having a party that was supposedly for her to find a husband. Well, it turned out that it wasn't. It was just a regular party. She became a wrestling star. And one of the things that she said is that she was raped at the age of 11. And from that time on, her whole family and everybody blamed her for being raped at the age of 11. And that was sort of the thing. Like, nobody went and said, "Oh, poor little 11-year-old," you know.
Oh,
So anyway, right now she's a wrestling star,
no
apparently.
way.
Yeah, yeah.
That
So
is
she's
so
talking about it on TV. But I don't know how to stop anyone from bullying other than to make that person feel good and tell them off. Maybe they should learn jokes. They should take a comedian course and learn jokes. That's what they should do.
comedy. I know a lot of comedians have started doing jokes because that disarms people who are mean.
Right, right. A
Yeah.
lot of ones.
I wouldn't be surprised if Don Rickles and Rodney Dangerfield were very much treated poorly.
No idea. But some of the modern ones, see, they didn't talk about feelings in those days, really. But
No.
some of the modern ones do. They have interviews, and they will say, I had to do. I found if I did comedy, they left me alone. They didn't beat me up every day.
Exactly.
I I didn't get beaten up. I just got the cold shoulder.
So you go on from schooling and bullying, and you manage to get degrees and do great things in theater, acting, setting up foundations. My gosh, you're doing things that benefit the world. How did you go from unassuming Brooklyn quiet girl in the corner who was being bullied to a rock star on off Broadway, etc. Endowment for the arts? Are you kidding me?
Well, I love being creative. So whatever I love learning. So whatever, even though I was at the beginning level of something, I would keep at it until I learned. I kept at singing until I was good at it. I kept on the theater until I could walk across the stage and sit in a chair and speak better. Uh, I just threw myself into it more than a social life. I didn't have much of a social life, and I threw myself into. I love learning. I love creative. I love all that. The PhD I had to get because in order to teach, you sort of have to have it. Not easy for me, but I did it anyway. And I did it, you know. But the other stuff, I just threw myself into it and did the best I could. And I knew I was growing bit by bit and that I love being creative. I just love being creative. So right now I'm writing stories with my brother and I'm writing stories and I've written. I was a playwright at Yale because I thought if I wrote plays, maybe because I realized that women had very few roles. They had like three roles in a Shakespeare play. I was in King Lear. I played Goneril, and there's like 9 million guys and three women in the whole show. And I realized I better write plays. I took a playwriting class with Jean Grabanier, who wrote books on playwriting on Hamlet and so forth. And he was a horrible person, but I suddenly found I had a knack for this. So I pursued the knack for playwriting for a while and gave up the acting because I wasn't getting, I didn't look the way they wanted actresses to look. And then after I got my PhD, which was very tough for me, since I'm, I'm not, how shall I say it? I'm a larger, broader person rather than a smaller, detailed person. And I said, I'm going to do something. I failed at most of the arts because I didn't become famous at it, so therefore I failed at it. So therefore, I'm going to do something totally new, which I'd also failed at, and I'm going to do it for the fun of it and not expect anything at all from it. So that's when I took singing, and to my absolute shock, it took over my life because it combines theater. You can set yourself up in whatever character you want to be. You don't have to be the character that they decide you look like. And so I then started to focus myself on singing. So I had various periods of my life where in the beginning I wanted, as a child, I was going to be an artist. Then I shifted to theater at Brooklyn College because they didn't like my kind of art. And then I had to teach in a college, so then I had to learn educational stuff and I had to get a PhD. Do you want to know what my PhD is on?
Yes, please.
British military theatricals during the American Revolution in Philadelphia.
Oh, how cool is that? Now, why
Hi.
Philadelphia? What's the deal with that?
Well, first of all, I was just going to do plain British military theatricals, the American Revolution in Philadelphia, but somebody took New York and they said, Helen, someone's done New York. I said, oh, well, let's get out of this altogether because this is not what I really wanted to do. And he said, but Philadelphia was an important city. You could do Philadelphia. I said, oh, okay. Can't I do the people in England uh, who were doing the new people in England that were starting out to do theater there? That I had been in England and I had interviewed some of them. And he said, oh, no, it's too new. So I had to keep doing this colonial stuff. And one character, Major Andre, was kind of fascinating because he was the only guy hung as a traitor during the Revolutionary War, hung as a spy
See,
because
when you said hung, I didn't know where you were going with that thought.
Washington hung him in retaliation. He was the only one hung in the whole world, but he was a charmer. He put on plays in Philadelphia. He put on a regatta in Philadelphia that remembered for centuries later.
Wow.
And anyway, so I kind of fell in love with him after a while.
You did. How did that go?
What?
What developed with that?
Not well. I mentioned him in the oral. I said, yeah, I kind of love him. And they said, that's not right. You shouldn't have any feelings. Shouldn't have any feelings for your work.
They were gaslighting you before it was a term.
No, they just felt that you should be this scholar that has no feelings.
Jeez. So tell me about the rest of all your education. That's one facet. Is there any more you want to talk about the importance of getting an education. And you were a woman getting highly educated before maybe it was even accepted to be that highly educated.
Yes, I was the first one, and my brother and I were the first people in our family to go to college in the whole uh, family center, because that's a common story with parents that were immigrants or firstborn or whatever. And the rest of the family, my one of my cousins said to me that as a child, he couldn't understand me when I was a child, and I said, "Why?" He said, "Because you spoke words that I just didn't understand." So I and my brother had a high vocabulary at an early age and an interest in that, and other people didn't. So that was also offsetting because you're supposed to be average in those days.
Yes.
That was before uh, the Soviet Union got into space. Everyone, if you're not average, you're not healthy. So my brother got away with it. He was a charmer. He's a boy. He could do what he wanted. But uh, I was also different for that reason. Um, I read a lot. And so what was the question?
Being so educated as a woman back then might not have been very easy.
As it turned out, when I was running an acting group at Brooklyn College as a undergraduate student, this guy that I highly respected one day said to me, "You know, Helen, you've got to be less smart." I said, "What?" He said,
What?
first of all, I didn't even know I'm that smart. I'm just who I am. That's what I am. I'm not going around saying, "Gee, I'm going to be smart." Uh, he says, guys don't like that. Well, he was kind of right.
Wow. What an incredible.
Yeah. So, but the point is even though people gave me advice that I should do tons of makeup, I should do this, I should wear falsies, and stuff like that, uh, something in me said, I'm not going to do that. I don't care.
You stayed
Uh,
true to yourself.
well, I just didn't want to. It just, both my brother and I were more natural types, which became more fashionable during the 60s, but we were not as bad as everything in the 60s, but we were in that direction, and people did not like that then.
Like you were bohemian chic?
I was I was more I had more in yes, I had more in connection with Bohemia, even though I wasn't Bohemian, because at least they were thinking and they were into art and literature and movies that were art movies, uh, than the people that I knew in Brooklyn mostly, except for my friend Rosalie Schwartz, who became a poet.
Wow. So let's go back. I heard something I want to pick up and dig into.
Yeah.
You said you're first generation American. Your parents immigrated here. I'd like to
My
hear
mother,
about.
my mother immigrated as an 11-year-old. My father was born here, but other members of his family were not born here.
So where are your roots?
My mother was Ashkenazi, Polish, Jewish,
Yes.
and hated it. My father claims, and maybe he's correct, that his father was a top engineer for the Rothschilds on the Suez Canal, and they were from Turkey, which is, I think, Palestine also in those days. But they were both Ashkenazi Jews.
Wonderful. So my parents, they survived the Holocaust,
Yeah.
and my all of my dad's family perished in Minsk except my dad.
Oh gosh.
Mhm.
Oh
So now,
gosh.
now you have people that don't believe that the Holocaust even existed.
Well, there are people that believe the Earth is flat too, and we never got to the moon.
Yes,
But that's a anti-Jewish thing or anti-Zionist thing that the Holocaust never existed.
exactly.
And that makes
I like to tell people, oh, it's okay, but my parents survived the one that did exist.
oh, they say that to you?
No,
Well,
I make a joke out of it. Like I'm making fun of them by making a joke that, oh, it didn't. Well, that's okay because, my parents survived the one that did exist, not that one.
well, in New York, I don't think people say things like that. You have to go out to other parts of the country.
Yes, yes. It's a West Coast thing, I'm sure.
Well, or middle thing,
Middle,
or
yep.
southern thing.
Yep. Bible Belt I could see the Bible Belt doing it.
I do find a lot of the beliefs of the other parts of some people in the parts of the country are scary, very
I
scary.
do too. I do too.
Yeah.
Many times when I go to comedy mics and shows, I hear a punchline and it's the effing Jews. And I'm like, and then
Whoa.
I see an audience crack up laughing and I'm afraid for my life. It's triggering.
Wow. Well, in the old days, when I was traveling, say, in North Carolina, going to a friend's camp, I met this very charming guy whom I really liked a lot. And then all of a sudden he would say, and tonight I'm going to get my gun and I'm going to shoot the whites of those diggers' eyes. And I went, ah.
Oh
And
my
one
God.
minute I'm thinking to a sophisticated, nice person, and the next minute I'm hearing this come
Yes.
out of his mouth. Did I say anything? No. But maybe have gone after me with a gun. And then I've sometimes traveled and people have given me anti-Jewish jokes because I don't look Jewish. And I don't say anything. And I would say, I don't know what to say, so I don't say anything. I think maybe nowadays people say things.
Yes. The young people say that's not nice. Or their face will go, they don't approve. I really appreciate the young people.
Well, it's a different world. The it's a different world now and different ways of doing things. I mean, they asked once a woman in the 40s who was born in the 19th century, and they asked her, has she noticed that there are any changes or what's been different? And she says, everything is different. And I have to say that from my birth in 1935, everything is different. It's amazing.
It is. It makes for really good comedy, because you can talk in my day this and today that means this and it's funny.
They want to hear about the old days? Do they really want to hear about it?
And by being funny about it, you can actually
Oh,
educate. It can be
that's true.
education.
That's true.
But a lot of times, you can only get away with a little bit of that. If your whole set is telling them about then it sounds like a TED talk.
Isn't most of the audience for comedy young people who are there on dates and stuff like that?
Yes.
Who
And I
may not
love,
even be interested in comedy?
not necessarily, they're interested in what happens after they have a few drinks.
Right. Or they're interested in having the few drinks and telling the comic off.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's really become a thing.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I raised a daughter and she told me she hated me for 36 years. So what's a heckler gonna do? Scare me?
36 years. Wow. How
Yeah.
is she now? Does she like you now?
She hasn't talked since night for at age 36. She went her way and I haven't heard from her since. And that's the day I started comedy.
Wow.
Hmm? I
Wow. I'm so
refuse to
sorry.
die. I
I'm
refuse
so
to die.
sorry.
Thank
I know
you.
I have a former best friend who had an even worse situation with her daughter.
Really?
Her daughter kept suing her
Wow.
and succeeding, and
Oh,
then coming to her for money, and then she's on Facebook or all these things where she's doing whips on people and so forth, and having sex on,
yes.
and it's her only daughter.
Oh, this is my only daughter.
Yeah.
It's pretty painful, but if it wouldn't have been for that, I might not be doing comedy. So,
Hey, she was a good impetus.
yes. So, we got to talk about
Oh, the
Joe.
show.
Let's talk
Joe
about Joe
show.
Firestone waltzing into your life first.
Okay.
You're minding your own business.
I'm
And
minding my own business. I'm a member of the Greenwich House. I was teaching a class in cabaret uh, to a small group of people. I was basically developing them. And then COVID happened. Uh, and I had heard that there was a comedy class being started. And and I just thought, well, a person who teaches comedy at a senior center, well, I might go there and try it. But it's 10 in the morning, which means I would have had to get up at 9 in the morning and get dressed and do. And I said, I'm not going to get up at 10 in the morning for comedy. So
yeah.
then, 2 or 3 weeks later, COVID started, and it was on Zoom. So I thought, hey, it's on Zoom. I can have my coffee and my breakfast. And one of my first sessions, she says, Helen, are you eating breakfast? I said, yeah. I can go in my pajamas and whatever, and I don't have to dress. And so I was astonished at Joe's way of teaching the class.
Speak to
I didn't,
that. Can you speak to her type of teaching?
yes, I can. And I've never taken a comedy class. I mean, I think I'm a natural, maybe it's the genes or whatever. There's and my brother, and the whole family has except for my mother, has a kind of sardonic wit about them. So I'd never taken a comedy class, and basically I saw that there was comedy in my plays, always comedy, and there's comedies in my introductions to my songs, and I did a lot of comedic songs, and I could be funny in a light way, but I never took a comedy class. So I absolutely surprised at two things. First of all, she never says a bad word to anyone, even
Ever.
ever, even if that person is interrupting the class and saying crazy things or whatever, where I would say something like, shut up, please, uh, or but she'll just say, oh, that's a funny thought. And then she gets them to move on. How does she do that? I would not have the patience to do that, but she does that. So basically, what she does is teach us in a roundabout way. Um, she gives us an exercise and she'll say, just do this. And we go, what? And some of it was to take home exercise, and there was like one liners, and I would do a 2 page monologue, which they liked and they hated. Uh, Whereas others would be doing these basically one liner things. And eventually I learned 2 or 3 times I did a one liner, which the last time, which was the last class, she said, Helen, you did a one liner. And somebody said, she's done 2 or 3 of them before. And I said, oh, yes, I have. So basically, so the one thing I was astonished at was her absolute good humor and her putting her through exercises and the way she handled unpleasant. I mean, you're dealing with everybody who wants to be on stage, or at least some people who want to be on stage, including me. But I have learned to be quiet, and I had decided I was going to be quiet because I didn't want to show off my education and erudition and background there. So I decided to not interrupt and be the center of attention. And but other people want to be the center of attention, and she handles it extremely well by giving it a comic name and diffusing it and moving on. So that was the first thing. The second thing was the members of the class. I sort of thought they would be like little old ladies who were upset because their husbands died and left, and they were a teacup. They were all brilliant. They were all fun. They were all interesting and funny and on a high level. So not only was she amazing in her small little things that kept on going, or things that she put us through, but the class was incredible. I mean, it was like a class of comic geniuses in the
Was.
beginning, and some of them were more developed, of course. I was, and they were smart. They were clever, and there were all kinds of people there. So it was a fascinating mix because it was not only her, because she has to deal with the class, but it was also the class. But I had to handle somebody once on the side, and I was not as nice, And I asked her, I mean, how do you do this? And she says, you have to do, and she told me some advice. But so she's very smart. And when the 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 students realized that she was getting paid some money to do shows, so one of them pulled the thing on her. How about us? Why don't we get paid? So she said, okay. So she did something where she gave us $1 or $10 or something. I don't know. So so then all of a sudden this show came up, and there we were doing things that we would never have done in the class and things like that. And then she told us that you have to develop a 3 minute thing. And she does, as I said, she doesn't really tell us what to do. She just puts us through hoops, and you got a good class anyway.
Yes.
So
And then
they surprise me. They all surprise me as how
they're
good they
all,
are.
everybody, I would get these being in the class in Las Vegas that's going on in New York. I
Yeah.
always felt like everybody accepted me, but I really wasn't there a part of it. But I would come in and nobody made me feel like an outsider but myself. And that was
Yes.
awesome. And then the other thing is that I would come weekly, we would get these emails, and people within the group would email, and we got a string of emails coming. And her exercises were being practiced throughout the week, and they would blow me away with all the things they'd come up with in the class.
It was a brilliant group of people, uh, and a diverse group of people in the comedy, and they were smart in the comedy area. So people like,
Speak to the diversity of the people in the class, and then we'll talk about the upcoming good timing.
okay, we still have time, I hope.
Yes.
We spent a lot of time on little old me. Well, there's I'm not good at I'm not good at remembering names. That's not one of my top points. But
Yes,
there's
too.
Ivana, I think is her name, and uh she is one of these people that holds church services or whatever it is, and she comes from a kind of a religious happiness background. And then we have in there some people that are Asian, Philippine, Chinese, whatever. And then there are some people that are lying down because they have a problem. Well, I don't know what, or they just want to relax. And I keep saying, oh, they're not going to ever say anything good, and then they say something good. So I can't not consider anyone. And then the rest of the class, there's Tequila. It's not a great name, Tequila Minsky,
Yes.
a writer, and her hair changes color from purple to orange or whatever, or red or whatever, and she is very funny and has always little comments to make. And I don't know, it's just a interesting class. And then let's see, and then my adopted or honorary brother Alex, I twisted his arm and he joined in, uh, and he likes to do one-liners, uh, and uh, and and different. I don't know, different people surprise me at different times.
And then you
Uh,
got BB, you got
uh,
Helene and Ziggy.
right now, Helene says she's a professional comedian, and Helene says she's very close to you,
Yes.
and uh, Ziggy is seems to be like a serious guy. I mean, uh, well spoken, and they who was the other one you met? BB was on TV, I think, with just recently. She's the oldest of us. She's 88. I'm 86. She looks a hell of she looks a hell of a lot better than I do in terms of overall looks. But anyway, during the show, she fell down,
Uh-oh.
and for some reason, and there was supposed to be a red light, which I didn't even see because I'm blind. Uh, and they wanted to pick her up from the floor, and she said, "No, no, no," and she continued the routine from the floor.
What? What a pro.
And she was on one of those Today Show, the morning show,
Yeah.
And they asked her, why didn't you let people pick you up from the floor? She said, well, there's only a limited amount of time. So I thought I might as well just, it would take me a while to get up. So I thought I might as well continue it from the floor.
Oh,
And then she was there for most of the time. And then she said, I think she emailed me or somebody that they didn't even let me get to the punchline. I mean, she was doing the whole preparatory work. Well, they didn't let me get to my punchline either, so I was not too
what?
sympathetic. But they didn't even let me get to my monologue. Um, I had a wonderful monologue.
You want to do your monologue right now?
I would have to bring it. It's long. It's about 2-3 minutes. Do you have that time? That kind of thing.
Absolutely. And then after you prepare yourself, get in character. And then when you're done, we're going to talk about where the show and where to see it, and
Okay.
we'll close out. But yes, please do your monologue.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I have to get it up because I don't know it by heart, and maybe that's one of the reasons why they cut it out of the show. I don't know.
Take your time.
Uh, a recent monologue, sports craze
I'm
monologue.
retired. Don't rush.
So am I. But it's like kindergarten. Um, can do all the creative things that you couldn't do before.
Yes.
Okay, I found the monologue in my
All right.
Word thing.
All righty.
Let me get rid of the comedy show podcast. I was going to tell you names of people at the reception we went to, but hey, my monologue is more important, isn't
More
it? Yes.
important. Let's
Sure.
hear you.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And what happened is that I had decided on it during the thing, and I'm not a good memorizer, so I just really did a good reading, which I'm usually good at. Uh, so here it goes. Where's
Okay.
my water? So I went out on stage and they applauded a lot because they'd been told to applaud a lot. So I started off with, this whole, and then Joe was there, so I thanked Joe. And I just did this whole star thing for about 1 minute or so. And let's see, the crowd applauded strongly when I entered, so I blew kisses at them as if they were my fans, applauded them, took bows, raised arms to them, applauded them, uh, arms across my breast with fake modesty, things I've seen stars do. And in other words, I milked it effusively. Joe was there, so we blew bows, and kisses at each other. And then I said something like, hi, I'm Professor Emerita Helen Yalof, PhD. At which point, the audience is going to freeze, right? You know that. And I'm here to propose to you, to this very esteemed audience who came here today despite traffic and rain. Hey, let's give you a round of applause. Enough, 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 enough. I'm here to give you my proposal for the new Olympic meaningful games. And um, and I want to assure you, I know because they're worried because everyone else's jokes was one-liners, and I'm coming out reading and being like a professor. And I said, I want to assure you that as a teacher, I do know how to handle audiences. And Joe hadn't left yet. So I said, Joe, are you sure the doors are locked now? So Joe was surprised and she laughed, and everybody laughed. Okay. When I was a kid, we played stickball on the streets of Brooklyn. Hey, that was fun. Hey, did any of you ever play on the streets? And a number of people raised their hands. Nobody even bothered to watch. So, except for some very, very mad car drivers who kept noisily honking their horns at us, not nice people. I I just don't understand what's so wonderful about watching highly trained super duper athletes play. First of all, athletes are often put into teams that change all the time. They get traded or fired. So who the hell are you rooting for? Damn Brooklyn Dodgers. And teams fight over a ball. A ball! Oh, that poor ball. And they get paid loads, but not the ball. You should be so lucky. Hey, in ancient Mayan times, after the games, the winning, or maybe it's the losing, or maybe both, ball teams would be sacrificed to the gods. Now, that makes a kind of sense. Gives opportunities for newcomers to get into the sport, should they want the job. So listen, ah, when I was a kid, nobody gave me money to play stickball or even hopscotch. So I say, why don't they just give everybody some balls? Lots of balls. Lots and lots of balls. And be done with it. But lately I started thinking about what could be a meaningful future of sports. And I want to propose to you here my fabulous modern direction. But first, we need to consider the history of the games and how the hell we got here. The Olympics first started in ancient Greece. Hey, who knew that? Some members raised their hands. And at that time, it was meaningful. Yes, powerful, muscular guys got naked. They oiled themselves up so you could see all their muscles shine, as well as every other thing they had. And gals and guys could check them out for future references. In honor of the gods, these Olympians ran through discus and spears and posed in their grand naked glory. The games were very practical then. You did have to be good with spears when you waged war on your neighbors, those city states, but sometimes they worked together with you and you wanted to do fun things like sack Troy. But in this temporary holy space, the Olympians, you could peacefully study your future rivals and figure out who to watch for in your very next invasion. Now, throwing a javelin then was a very, very handy skill, very much needed to kill your neighbors. But what really does spear throwing mean as a sport today? Well, it's not very handy against guns. You'd be asking for it. In its place, shouldn't we be practicing something more like machine gun throwing? Whoops. Whoops, time's up. I had a longer speech. I was going to keep you here all day, but Joe cut me down. Well, I guess you're just going to have to invite me back to hear my full proposal about the new Olympic meaningful games. It's really quite fascinating. And now, thank you for your time. And do remember to vote for me. Oops, that was a few weeks ago speech. My name is Helen Yalof, and if you ever meet me, you can remind me of that. Bye.
Oh my gosh, that's fabulous. I love it. You
Yes,
transported me to a whole nother world.
yes, thank you. I loved it too. It's a
Yes.
shame they didn't put it on. I'm looking for my other thing here. Okay, got it. All right.
Wow. That was beautiful. So, all right. So we're getting near the end here, and
We're
I've
getting
gotten
near
to know,
to talk about Joe in the show, right?
yes.
Instead of
So
little old me.
let's talk about good timing came about and now it's everywhere. And you're a part of it.
Astonishing.
And so you're becoming a little starlet, and as is everybody in the cast. And so talk about where people can see it and how amazed you are. You must have feelings.
I am unbelievably astonished. We thought of this as, and Michael Flutie and I thought of this as a kind of a low budget little show, and it's taking over the world. I mean, I'm continually getting emails from Helene, whom you know,
Ah,
who somehow is in charge of letting us know what's going on. Thank you, Helene. Wit. Uh, about the Today Show, this article there, the whatever. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I've done shows all my life, and they've been very good, and never got a splurge. No, maybe once or twice got a splurge, but not like this. This is astonishing. And I think it's absolutely wonderful for Jo, and I think she absolutely deserves it. She is such a good person and a wonderful, wonderful person to put us through our steps. Do you agree with that, Linda?
I do. She's so selfless and so in the moment, and so special and so accepting and so loving. I mean, I could go on all day with words about Joe.
She's very good spirited,
Yes, yes.
and she does it in a low key manner that you don't know that it's being built up to get someplace. So that when we
Yes.
did the show, it got built up to get someplace all of a sudden, you know.
And
But
even when you guys are doing press with Joe, Joe is not about promoting herself, even though her
no,
name is in the title, Good Timing with Joe Firestone. That's it. The rest is highlighting you.
she's very smart and very capable, and her
Yes.
boyfriend is very nice too. He's involved with the Onion, Michael.
Wow, that's awesome. The Onion.
The Onion, yeah. He came in one day, I don't know if you were there, and gave us a short thing about how the Onion is put together, which was very interesting and helpful.
Wow.
So, anyway, we had a. How do you see the show? It's on Peacock and it's free. All you have to do is get to peacock.com on your computer, and there are other apps and stuff on devices, and go to Good Timing with Joe Firestone, or click specials or comedy or special or something, the little thing, and there it is, a whole hour of, or almost an hour of it, and
I
and we
don't know
got
about you.
paid.
I don't
We
know
got paid.
about you. I don't know about you, Helen, but I smell something really big even further is going to happen because
Uh,
the interest across the country.
yes, it's absolutely amazing. It's a whirlwind of stuff, and certainly something's going to happen for Joe. Absolutely for Joe. Yeah, that's
And
sure.
then after COVID, when they release all of the restrictions, people are going to be traveling to New York and they're going to want to stop by and say hello where you live.
Oh, into my house, you mean? Maybe
Yeah,
they could
they
clean the
now
house for
know
me.
they know the name of the place where all these little starlets live.
Oh,
You'll be
oh,
getting
oh,
gifts.
oh! They've started a new class already.
No
Uh,
way.
Somebody wrote me who was quite a theater person himself. Wrote me saying he'd give me $10 to get into the class. I think it was a joke, but anyway, I wrote Joe, and she said uh, Laura. Laura wrote back, who runs the center, uh, Greenwich House Settle Greenwich House Senior Center, and is also involved with all of the Greenwich House's activities. She wrote back that they're closing the class at 24, which is good because we've developed a spirit, and we've been through things together. We've developed a certain connection together that is unusual. And I found out that so they're going to start a new class for new people. I have found out when I've started an organization which we have a beautiful blending of something together, and new people come in, it gets destroyed
Yes,
because they don't know what it is and they want to take over. So,
absolutely.
and I don't blame them, but it just sort of destroys what you have. Um, so I think it's great. So we're going to continue as a club. We all like each other, you know,
Yes,
and we all admire each other. And everyone has come up with something. Even when I say, "Oh, that person will never say anything funny," they'll come up with something funny, you know, and it's astonishing. So
yes.
anyway, it's at Peacock, and the powers that be who run Peacock Comedy. Let me mention a few names. Um, Took us 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, to a reception party on a lovely roof terrace at uh, at a Italian restaurant, La Tanzi Cucina Italiana restaurant in Restaurant Row. And it turns out that this roof terrace is where they used to give Saturday night parties to the host by Lauren, and that's why they did that. And Katie Hockmeyer, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, seems to be in charge. And she told us, uh, uh, and and I saw a lot of the executives of Peacock that were there. I have to tell you, They all look as if they could play the leads in romantic comedy movies. I mean, do they cast them by how they might work in a romantic comedy movie when they make them an executive? So they're all like young women or in the 20s or the 30s. Some of the names are Caddy Hockmeyer was pulled out of retirement, become head of Peacock's late night comedy shows and special. Megan Deneen, Carly Belsito, and Talia Levy. They also had hardworking executive roles, and Julie Miller directed the show. All they should all be in. They should all create romantic comedies with them as the leads. Now, and Marion Ways was the talent producer who spent a lot of time putting the show together. And I have to say that I've occasionally worked as an extra and a friend of mine did on movies, and we were usually treated incredibly badly, given incredibly bad advice, so that when we finally showed up, we were considered that we hadn't heard what they said when they were given bad advice. And this crew and cast was so wonderful. The crew just treated us with great sensitivity. I was astonished, and they were fine and they were lovely. So it was a, oh, and I have to do a shout out for the makeup guy. I really like the makeup guy, Roberto Alvarado Jr. He had to make up everybody. There's a lot of people there.
Can
Poor
you
guy.
imagine?
Yeah. And he gave me a lot of makeup advice, and I wanted to call him if I can find his phone number. But he was wonderful, and he just made everybody look okay. He made me look. We had nice talks about makeup and things like that. So,
What was one thing he did with your makeup that you took away and are using or would like to share?
well, it has to do with the coloring of the individual person. Uh, so we just were talking about eye makeup, and he said that my blue eye makeup was good. Then he also told me, and I haven't found this exact, that I might also look good with brown and gold, a brownish goldish eye makeup there.
Wow.
Uh, but he basically liked my makeup because I've spent that I brought with him because I've spent a lot of time researching it every year or so, and I've taken makeup training and studied it on my own as a theater person. Uh, but as you get older, it's a different kind of story, and I don't wear mascara anymore. So he put mascara on, but I don't wear mascara anymore. It's just too dicey, and so I just work with the eyes when on special occasions like this.
Beautiful.
But
Absolutely.
he
And
said
I can see gold and brown on you. That would be very classy.
well, I have to call him and say what color because it there's so brown has so many colors,
Yes.
so many possibilities of colors. It's the most flexible color. It can go from tan to a reddish brown to a yellowish brown to a dark brown, and it looks totally different. Or peach. Peach is sort of a variation of brown,
That's
so it
true.
looks different in different colors.
Yeah. Well, Good Timing came out on the 15th of October on Peacock, and it's there for you to all to see. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if all of the cast and Joe get catapulted into major stardom and the show becomes a season hit sitcom.
Whoa,
That's what I say. I'm making
that's what you
space.
think.
That's what
It's a
I'm
good
thinking.
idea. It's a good idea.
I wouldn't be surprised because people are going to fall in love with all of you.
Oh, we left out the fact that I my song was on the show, Toy Balloon.
What?
Only they cut it down to two lines.
What?
So
Let's hear it.
toy balloon, as you float up in the air, fade to blue, higher glow, and then you disappear. Toy balloon, oh, come back and take me too. With you I'd go, my toy balloon, anywhere but here. That's the chorus.
Oh, wow. That gave me chills.
Good.
When you sing that song, what are you trying to convey, and what's in your mind that makes you do that so well? Something's in your mind.
Well, first of all, this is probably the second song I ever wrote. I was in my early 20s, and I ended up putting it in a play. Aladdin lived in Brooklyn that I did in a camp. Um, and really, what was in my mind, I didn't think about it at the time, but later on, when I looked at it, I realized it's somebody looking at their life and saying it's not so hot, and that an imaginary balloon can bring you to happiness and change your life.
Oh, wow.
And it also was looking back as a older person on your childhood dreams, like you had a balloon, it left, and then I have later on it comes back to you, and then it says I've been here all the time. And in a sense, I didn't realize it when I wrote it, but the balloon is creativity.
That was so beautiful. That's what I felt. I felt like you were
Yeah,
thinking about your childhood.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And then
That's
there's a chorus later on where it says, which is about the person looking back on their life, at which point it becomes almost, like something in one of the plays that where people remember their earlier life.
how beautiful is that? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. This has been Helen Yalof, and she's in the upcoming special movie premiere that premiered October 15th on the Peacock channel. And she is amazing, and the whole entire cast will grab you by the throat and pull you down to your couch, and you'll be nothing more than lazy boys and girls.
They're
So watch
all
the show.
they're all very, very different and all interesting in so many ways and funny too.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I know that firsthand. Thank you so much, Helen, for opening up your entire life for us to hear.
Well, thank you, Linda. How can I hear it? How can I find out what my life was like?
I'm going to take this thingamajig called a computer. I'm going to push a button. And as
Okay.
soon as it's done doing it, they call it, converting a recording.
Yeah.
And then I will send it to you. And I'll send it to you by email and Facebook, both, just in case one works better than the other.
It's wonderful seeing you. Finally meeting with you.
It's wonderful seeing and meeting you, and I can't wait to give you a real hug in person. But for now, here's your virtual hug. Bye. Love you.
Love you, kid. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.